Hey, welcome back to another session of the Growth and Scaling Sessions. Today, I'm super excited because our topic is so powerful. Before we get to the topic, though, I just want to mention that today's episode is sponsored by captainscouncil.com. Captain's Council is where peers come together as founders and CEOs of companies to learn more about how they can help each other deal with the day-to-day problems of running and operating your business. Go check out Captain's Council today. And above and beyond that, today's topic is so awesome because we are discussing ideal client personas. Why does it matter? Why is it such a big deal to think about who you're really targeting with your business? Well, we're going to learn all about it from two specialists. One is currently operating a business who definitely knows her target avatar, and another who helps companies message the right stuff to really impact who they're trying to help with their businesses. So we're going to introduce them one by one. So glad you guys are here. Let's start with Ellza. Ellza, tell us who you are and what do you do with your business?
Thank you for having me, Todd. Well, to tell you a little bit about Blue Monarch Group, it's an organization that I founded that focuses on psychology-based marketing, meaning we take 50 years worth of neuroscience and psychology data, and we say, well, how does this actually impact the emotional journey that a buyer or a customer goes through? And that comes from understanding the ICP, who is the customer, and understanding their psychological journey.
It definitely starts with who they are, right? And we all know that buying is an emotional journey. And if you can't trigger their emotions, they're probably not going to buy. So thank you so much for being here, Ellza. Love your business. Our next guest, Nikia, will you please tell us who you are and what do you do?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikia Londy. I am the CEO and founder of an amazing hair extension and wig company called Intriguing Hair. And we serve women who have a medical hair loss, and we also serve women who just need it for a fashion statement.
I love it. I love it. Why not change your hairstyle, color, shape every day of the week?
Definitely. I do.
Do you really? That's so
do.
Cool. Oh, man. I have a hard time changing my glasses from day to day, let alone my hair. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And to dive into the topic, this is such a fascinating topic because I am constantly shocked by how many businesses really don't understand who they are serving with their company. And I feel like a lot of people get lost with this. Nikia, how did you start your business? I mean, you really started it with the demand of people. I mean, you understood right away who you were serving. Who do you primarily serve? Yeah.
Well, I will say I have three target consumers. The first one was actually African American women, me being one myself. So they're usually millennial. They're professional. They usually make six figures. They have a high net worth, so they can afford the product. And then I also have the women who, from all ethnicities, who are experiencing a medical hair loss, and they usually can have their purchase either paid for or reimbursed by their insurance company. So they usually have cancer or alopecia, one of the two. And they could range in age from anywhere from like 20, usually to 60. But, they're going through an emotional journey right now.
Yeah.
They're very scared. It's a different type of emotional journey for them based on our regular customer that we have.
It's definitely not the norm to see women without hair, and it's heartbreaking to see it when they do have situations like that. So I think your business is completely awesome, by the way. I just love what you do and how you help people. How did you nail that down, though? That's a different type of niche. What did you do to determine who this client avatar was for you? How did that make you, I don't know, stimulate the growth of your business?
Well, I will say about 10 years ago, I started it mainly for African American women. And as I began to be in business, women that had a medical hair loss used to frequently shop with me, and they had those same pain points like the African American women wanted. They wanted a private setting where they could feel comfortable and secure. And as you grow, you just see like the different things that make people like the common denominators with people. Most of them had medical insurance. They, was very scared of and apprehensive. And sometimes they just want to go back to where they were prior to, they just want a natural looking hairpiece. So you just kind of hone in on the things that, the similarities of a customer and figure out who you're really speaking to.
I love it. Now, I noticed in your LinkedIn profile that you have bright pink hair some days, and
Yes.
and today you're going long and wavy. I love it.
I'm trying to be professional for you guys.
I love it. Ellza, tell us how this works, because you know the psychology, you know the background of all this. When we're talking demographics of who our client avatar is, what are some things we really need to think about when understanding, a business is first setting out to get in business? What should they be thinking about first?
So usually the way that we start our ICPs, we call them characters internally within our organization, because we do treat them like a character in a story. Like, what was their history that ended up being in this role? I deal with a lot of either business owners or CMOs or CXOs, and their history is sometimes a little bit convoluted. A lot of them are in the millennial period right now because that's their current status.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that that's where they originated. And a US experience or a North American experience is very different than a European experience, is very different than a Middle Eastern experience. So we try to actually include a lot of the cultural impacts that have shaped their perception throughout the process, because that will say, should we make this lighthearted joke or should we not when we're doing our content?
Right.
Nikia had a really good example of, because she did something that was so close to her community, she connected with them really well and understood their pain points. So she used that journey to continue to resonate with them and offer them the environment that made them feel safe and comfortable, which was the thing that they were learning and yearning for. Whereas my CMOs are more in the sense of the average tenure for a CMO is around 2 years or less than that right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's a big pain point.
Oh my gosh.
And a lot of them come from the digital era, and now we're entering this space of AI. So there's just a lot of confusion going through it because of AI, because of the impact on how buyer behavior is shifting as the next generation enters a higher level of buying power.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we have to kind of understand to say, what would they've experienced even in 2008 during their period that would have shaped how they make decisions today.
Interesting. So when you work with a client and you're helping them kind of understand this journey that they're taking their clients down. I mean, both of you have mentioned client journey, and I love that you both did, because I honestly, understanding that they are on a buying journey, they are on a buying path. They have pains, they have things that they're dealing with. How do you, Ellza, help companies kind of understand that starting point? Where are they getting into the journey, and where are they meeting these people?
I think that, so the way that we kind of put it in is there's this perfect triangle that we like to say is, here's the brand identity on one corner, there's where your audience is on the other, and then there's this ecosystem that we call, and that is where defense protocols are lowered, meaning I'm willing to learn more information. I'm willing to potentially receive more information in a much more curious or interest mentality.
Right.
And that goes to like, where do these people interact? Where do they find points of resource? And is that a space that we have to create? Is that a space that we have to join? Or is that a space that we have to sponsor?
Right.
And those are the three ways that we kind of try to work through is that through advertising. And our journey has a section called the subliminal side, where we try to say, how do we try to build brand awareness without necessarily selling or doing any of those phases? We just want a positive emotional response when they see the brand, before you even get to the places that they actually interact.
I love that. And Nikia, I'm super curious, having Ellza mention that, how did your marketing change when you started to understand that there was like this whole new set of women who were not African American, who were like, I'm nervous, I'm scared. You were an expert in doing this. How did your marketing and messaging change when you discovered that there was this whole new audience of people that needed what you did?
Well, it's important I'm speaking to two different types of customers. So there's two different types of messaging that has to happen. And I loved how she said that, because we had to go to different conferences for hair loss. I had to really immerse myself in what these customers needed. Even though I thought I knew, I didn't exactly know. It's a whole different experience. So it's making sure that a lot of our messaging resonates with that customer. We give a lot of education. Education is important to that customer, because they might not know themselves. Where my other customer, they've been wearing hair extensions their entire life. So you're definitely talking to two different people. There's two different messages happening, and it's definitely important to immerse yourself in the needs of the customer and what they actually like, because it's totally different than what you believe it can be.
I love it. You hit on so many great points there, and you guys are like literally feeding right into what I wanted to really base the conversation on. I think that there's some really important keys to consider when you're trying to determine your ideal client persona. And you've already hit on, like, you're going in order. Like I didn't ask us to go in this order, but you literally are just following. So I love it. Demographics. We talked about demographics and psychographics. Like, who are these people, and what are they? How do they think? What are they thinking? What kind of behavior patterns do they have? Like, you guys are hitting on all this so well. We talk about pain points, and this is something that I know Ellza loves to talk about, because pain is what most marketers really are attracted to. How do we solve a pain with a client? What do you do to help your business clients understand the pains of their clients?
So in our instance, it depends on the level of the lack of understanding that they have. If they have a basic understanding, then we may do some exercises and some empathetic training to really walk in somebody else's shoes. That's a really good way for us to have somebody live another person's experience and be empathetic for it. Because I think that's one of the key pillars in doing what we do, is we really put ourselves into a space where, similar to Nikia, she's like, I've been in that world by taking the education. I can feel what they feel, and I can feel the lack of education they might have in this space. So we go through it, and then some are more product focused. Like if you're a product led company, sometimes this happens where you love the innovation and you love everything that's being produced, but you don't necessarily understand the byproduct of what happens after somebody buys, and how their life changes. And that's where we really work into the space of creating that journey moving forward. Is we say, okay, well, let's sit here and let's imagine that you're this person that lives in this other space and what have you. And that's where we go through it.
I mean, clearly it makes a big difference. I mean, when you look at Nikia's background, I chuckle a little bit, because this is a woman who totally understands her client. Like she knows that bright pink and neon lights are what a lot of women are wanting to see. I mean, honestly, you're definitely not going for that straight white guy. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you understand very well who your buyer is, and you're doing everything you can do to make them comfortable. Are the things that, when you jumped off on your own and created your business 10 years ago, you mentioned you've been in the industry for 20 years. When you were diving off and jumping into your own, what were some things that you knew you wanted to kind of feel like, this is my brand and this is going to attract who I'm after?
Well, I think that because I told you my first job was at a hair augmentation studio.
Yeah.
And I think I just loved how everything ran. She knew her customer very well. Her name is Sarah Du. She's my mentor. And even though she had a different audience, which was affluent Caucasian women, I was like, I wanted that same type of feeling and space for myself and for African-American women. So I think I had a really good guide at first. And,
that's awesome.
And I always say it's about, even though we make people look good, we make them feel good as well. So once you look good, the feeling is what drives people to keep coming to us. So as long as you make them also feel good, then, you'll always have a customer. So that is very important to me. Like, like how you say, like putting their guards down, making them feel comfortable. That's extremely important.
And Nikia, tell us a little bit, because Ellza mentioned another thing that's right along that line is when we talk about client journey, there's a starting point when they're first introduced to you and your product. And then there's that buying pattern. And what do they do after they buy to keep them coming back? What kind of things have you done, like specifically in your business, to keep people coming back? And how has that changed your ability to increase revenue and grow?
Well, it's interesting because there are some people that, like our medical hair loss customer, let's say someone has cancer, they're not going to keep continually coming back to us. It might be just a one-off purchase, and it might be a year or 2 years before they go through the chemo. But we do such a great job at connecting with them, is that a lot of our business is based off of referrals.
Yeah.
So now that they know that there's this place that specializes for this particular customer, it enables us not to really do much marketing at all. Like most of our customer base is from word of mouth. It's just, like, even though I know that this person may never come back again, we do such a great job that they're always referring other people, because they're going to meet probably someone else, maybe at the hospital, and wow, I have this great wig. I want to tell you about this place where you can go, where you can feel comfortable, and you can feel secure, and you don't have to feel like you're just being sold to.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. It sounds like you provide the whole experience, which is honestly,
a one-stop solution.
It's right. Like I have a mom that went through chemo. I have a sister-in-law that went through, both with breast cancer. And I just think that people like you are so impactful on their journey through healing and recovery. I just, personally, I just think I'm a little emotional about it. I thank you for doing what you do to make that buying journey so awesome.
I appreciate that. I love what I do. And I love, it's just dealing with that type of customer. That's my favorite customer, to be honest. Like the one that has a medical hair loss, that's the most enjoyable customer for me, because I know that I'm making a real impact in their life. And, that gives you purpose, and that makes you want to do what you do.
Now, Ellza, when you're working with clients to help them understand the psychology of their buyers and listening to Nikia, how do you help them gain passion for that journey that their clients are on? Because some people, let's face it, some companies really are horrible. They've got a great product, but they're really horrible at connecting the dots for people to see why they need it.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because there's obviously we're in a corporate setting in a lot of these instances. So how do you connect something so emotional, where even from an enterprise software solution, right? Like, how do you connect something so logical to something so emotional? And what we work through is we say, well, research shows that everybody buys emotionally. Even if all the data in the world tells you otherwise, if you in your heart believe something, there's very little that can do to change it in the process. And what you do is you have to, at least from a logical standpoint. So we have to kind of work through and say, in order for this product to move in the way that you see it, the beautiful, amazing things that it can do, we have to create that similar affinity, like what Nikia was talking about. There's an affinity between the networks of people and her clients. We have to build that same affinity, same passion within it. And we have to start from the emotional side rather than the logical side.
Right.
And people remember stories way more than they remember statistics.
100%.
And you even see it in like other industries, like the political spectrum. Everybody talks about that one kid that this politician saved, as opposed to all the other things that they probably did bad.
Right.
Similar mentality. We can see it in day-to-day life. And we try to say, in order for someone to feel as amazing as you feel about this product, here's the emotional connections you have to go through in order for that to work. Because if a product is truly innovative or a service is truly innovative, here's how you have to get it through.
And Ellza, and that's why a lot of people will put like testimonials on their sites and things like that. What are some other ways, though, that they can really kind of capture that emotional trigger that will move them forward on your site, or if it's an in-person buying journey? How do people figure that out?
So it depends on where they are in the journey. So in the first half of the journey, especially when you get into awareness and interest, the emotions you want to trigger are happiness and excitement and possibility. Yeah. So those are more, your stories have to be very much more, happy driven, which is why testimonials are a great generation.
For sure.
for that process. If you're in an in-person setting, you really talk about and you're maybe in a one-to-one or maybe even one-to-few relationship, you just kind of mention a lot of the positive use cases that go through, and that will attract to say, tell me more about that. Then you've entered a different part of the journey. Now you've entered like intrigue and consideration potentially.
Right.
And that's a little bit more of a serious tone. So you have to then switch gears and go through, well, here's the how, and here's some of the technical aspects, because they've lowered the defense protocols. They're opening into buying something else. And now they're a different part of their brain is operating to say, let me analyze what you're talking about right now.
So you've taken them from a pain point, right? Like, I hate dealing with that thing. Like, I hate same hair every day or whatever it might be. You know, Nikia's got some fun pain. You got some really fun pain points, actually, I think that you're dealing with. But you're taking someone from a painful position. And to your point, Ellza, you're trying to create an emotional trigger that says, you know what? I get that. How would you like to feel happier about that situation? And what person doesn't want to feel happier about their pain point, right? I mean, that's why you've got all these get rich quick schemes that work, because people are like, I hate being poor. How do I get rich today? You know, and when someone says they can help you, they unfortunately will buy those get rich quick schemes. But they understand this point of pain gets attention. Telling them that they can be happy gets them interested. And then when you provide the details of solution, all of a sudden people are like, wait, okay, this is a cool thing. Where do you tap in the buy? Where's the buy message in that delivery?
So when you get to the purchase phase, it's really a culmination, and it depends on the type of buyer. So the personality a little bit and how they pull the trigger. Typically fact-based people, or people that consider themselves fact-based people, will want to look at the data all over again and want to have deep discussion. Whereas emotional based people will actually pull the trigger right away, because they're like, okay, you've given me the emotion that I needed. You've built me some social proof or some kind of evidence of that being true, and I'm ready to go. But maybe there's other people in the buyer journey that you need to consider, especially if it's a B2B product. So it kind of works through that process of guiding yourself to what else is needed, and the trigger is different for the personality type as you go through it.
100% it is. 100%. And Nikia, I'm curious from you. As you discovered that you could make buying easier for your health clients by tapping into insurance and having a program approved by state or whoever's kind of, you've been really smart about this by making your program easy to purchase by how did you discover, first of all, that you could even do that? And how did that affect it? Yeah, I bet it did.
It took years. And everything else in the process, I know, like if someone's going through like cancer, it's usually difficult. I want to make it as easy as possible. Like right now, I'm messaging my client who's going through chemo right now, and I'm just like, don't worry about it. I'll call the insurance company. They don't need to stress about this. They're stressing about saving their life. I want to make it as easy as possible for them. But it was a very difficult thing, because really there aren't new businesses that enter the hair loss space to build insurance companies. And really there hadn't been one in maybe like in my research in about like over a decade. So it was like the people in place didn't even know the answers of how to actually make it happen. So
is that right?
No, it's very ridiculous. Like a lot of people don't even still know that the insurance company will pay for the wig. Like, like they don't understand that wigs are considered durable medical equipment, similar to like prosthesis and things like that.
That is so cool.
It's a very interesting thing. But once I did find out how to do it, it just makes everything a lot easier. Like, it makes everything a lot easier. Especially my customers, sometimes they, like they don't have the money, like, they're paying for treatment and things like that. So being able to now build them directly, because what we used to do is like they would pay up front and then get reimbursed. Now we just make the process a lot easier.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, that would be a lot easier if you didn't have to pay up front and you could just know that your insurance is going to cover it. That's awesome. Dude, so Nikia, I'm sorry. Every time I have you speak right now, it kind of triggers all sorts of like personal,
Questions?
emotional
Yeah.
things. Yeah,
Yes.
like it's like really kind of distracting me. But I love what you do. How does this affect your ability to grow and scale? Because growing and scaling is what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to cross state lines and kind of build into more of an online virtual apparatus where you can be tapping into people's insurance and helping them remotely?
So because I'm in Massachusetts, it's not as open as a lot of other states. It's a little bit difficult. I actually been meeting with one of our congresswomen, Ayanna Pressley, who actually happens to have alopecia. She recently introduced legislation to make it a lot easier. And once that legislation happens, it will be a lot easier for me to do. But if I was in a state like Texas, it would be very easy for me to do now, but it's very difficult. I do sometimes are able to do it, but a lot of times it doesn't happen where the insurance company won't do it. But, we're working on making that happen.
I love it. So fascinating. So interesting. I love talking to operators like you who are discovering new ways to grow and scale your business. And for those of you watching, truthfully, you may not even know that what you're providing, the service you're providing, has an audience that you weren't even thinking about when you started your business. And I love, Nikia, that you discovered this whole nother market of people ready and willing to buy your products that you hadn't even thought about and anticipated when you started your business.
Exactly.
Ellza, how do people discover that? Because, there's some dabbling, there's some things that needs to happen, but also there's people that you can talk to help you think for you and say, oh my gosh, have you even thought about this? How do people discover people like you and help connect those dots to things like that?
It's interesting that you say that because there's a lot of industries out there or companies out there that can easily cross over into other industries and spaces and be for it to be low-hanging fruit, but you don't know what you don't know. So by partnering with organizations that have research arms or what have you, that's a good way for you to kind of identify, rather than taking more share of your pie, what if you were in 4 other pies that you could start getting market share from?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's kind of how we go through it. And it's one of the reasons why last year when we launched our psychology sales enablement solution, it was something we were already offering. We just did it in a different way. So even internally, we continue to do that as
I love it.
way to do it.
So you're eating your own pie.
Correct. And creating new ones as we go.
I love it. I love it. This is so important. And Nikia, I'm so grateful that you've been on today to kind of let us pick on you a little bit, because you literally have been so amazing. And first of all, launching a business dedicated to serving a very specific target, which was African-American women, female community. I think that's it's a great target. It's a great market. But as you kind of grew the business and launched the business, and to be honest, Nikia, that's where most businesses fail, is they fail to niche into a persona or an avatar or a character in Ellza's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, as you've been dabbling with this medical marketplace, are there other places you see your business potentially going, or is it more of a geographical spread that you see yourself getting into as you look forward in your business?
Well, interestingly, what Ellza said about doing the research is very important. You need to know who's actually buying your product. So I know that there are large groups of people that specifically buy wigs. Either, like there's trans women that buy a lot of wigs. There's married Jewish women who buy a lot of wigs. So those are markets that there's a huge customer base. And interestingly, African-American women, 6 out of 10 will purchase hair extensions or wigs at some point in their lifetime. Even though it's a much bigger market, I actually make more money with the medical hair loss consumer. So, it's important to know who who is actually interested in your product.
Oh my gosh. But you said something even more important to me. Who is easier and who is more profitable, I guess, is a bigger thing. I during COVID, I got kind of the rug pulled out from underneath me, and my business, I completely lost my entire book of business in the first months of COVID. horrible thing. It really surprised me. But when I lost that book of business, I started evaluating what I was going to do and what to build next. And I accidentally started working with startup founders and helping them with their marketing and messaging and doing stuff like that. Well, no offense to most startup owners, but they're a hard client to serve. Very, very hard client to serve. And they're so stuck in like, what am I going to do? How do I message? And it's like, oh my gosh, it drove me absolutely. I had no personal life anymore. It was like all times of day, people were calling me, asking me questions. And it wasn't until I discovered, hey, you know what? I could do the exact same service for a mid-sized company and help them with their marketing messaging on a bigger level with less headache. They already have a product. They're paying their bills. It's an easier client to serve. Nikia, I think it's interesting what you just said, because it's not only can you serve multiple client avatars, but which one is going to be more profitable? Which one is easier to satisfy? Which one is going to return and buy from you more regularly? Those are really important questions to ask yourself when you're determining, do I want to spend more time in the medical field or with this certain community or with,
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head. That explains my situation completely.
Right?
Yes, definitely. Who's going to be the most profitable? Who's going to make my job the easiest? That absolutely is the questions I asked myself, and it made most sense to like target this consumer. Yes.
Amen. I love it. Well, Nikia, you're on the big screen. I want to get into some closing statements, because I really feel like this topic is so vitally important for all of us. All of us, all three of us have our own businesses. All three of us are trying to determine the right client, the right time, the right pricing, all that kind of stuff. Nikia, tell us, as we've had this discussion, what kind of things do you feel like, if you're talking to someone new in business or someone who may just be kind of getting tired of the people they serve, what's the most important thing that you think of that will help them kind of revitalize their business as they try to move forward?
Well, you know what? It's a great question you asked. I always ask anyone that has a business, because I love talking to people that have businesses.
Right.
Who is it that you serve? And 9 out of 10 times people say everyone. I mean, it's like, you can't serve everyone. If you have to niche down, of course, there are people that you'll serve outside of the space that you go after.
Right.
But you need to figure out who it is that you serve. And a lot of people can't even answer that. So that's the first thing. But just doing the research, figuring out who's making the most money in the industry that you're in, you'll find, because what do they say? Success leaves clues. That's the most important part. Yes.
I love it. Woo.
Yeah.
That's a great success leaves clues. I love that. Thank you so much. Ellza, what are some closing thoughts you've got for people trying to dig into their ICP?
Yeah, I'll start with echoing what Nikia said around really narrowing it down, especially if you're a smaller organization. Like, pick a place and focus there. If you get other clients through osmosis, great, but your target should be this space. If you're really going to nurture that industry or that ICP, then I would go into like, well, how do you actually connect with that group of people? Are you in this space? Have you had past experience? How do you build the rapport with enough information? How do you build that knowledge? That way you can say, I know your space. I get it. And this is why I offer these solutions. It's much easier for you to have a very genuine conversation when you understand people from their point of view, as opposed to from the product you're trying to push or the service you're trying to sell.
I love it. Love it. Fascinating. You women are amazing. I honestly have appreciated so much your feedback today. Again, I just want to flash up on the screen 5 things to consider when you are trying to nail down your ICP. Think about the demographics. Who, what, why, who are these people? And then think about the psychographics. I mean, it seriously is like, what are their values? What are they interested in? What is going to be intriguing to them? Not just, you don't want to attract the whole world, because to Nikia's point, it doesn't work. You can't attract everybody. And if you say, I serve everybody, that means you don't know who you serve yet. So if you don't know the answer to those first 2 questions, you got to nail it down. You got to figure this out. Once you know who the person is, focus on the pain points. They all have pain. They all have pain. And when we understand the pain point, it's very easy to throw something out there on the internet or on social media or even in person, physically out in front of your storefront. Got this problem? You know, that's what Got Milk and Where's the Beef? You know, it's two of the greatest commercials ever on TV. Started with a pain point. People wanted bigger hamburgers. They wanted more milk. Very simply stated. Goals and aspirations. Where are they trying to get to? Where do they want to be? And how often and frequently do they buy this product? Those are all things you need to consider when thinking about your ideal client persona or avatar or whatever it is you want to call it, character. All three of those names are really, really great in defining who you should be thinking about at all times. And when you're not thinking about it, you're going to have a hard time growing your business. When you are thinking about it, it makes it so much easier to know how to talk to these people, how to solve their problems. And when you're not solving their problems, they're not coming back to you. So keep on solving problems. And that's how you're going to grow and scale your business. Thank you so much, ladies, for being on with me today. It's been such a pleasure. And for those of you wanting to learn more about business owners like these two and hearing their stories, we have a growth and scaling podcast. Go check out links.thegaspodcast.com. Literally 3 times a week, we have new releases of episodes of people talking about their growth and scaling journey. So fun. It inspires me. I don't make money on the podcast. This is truly a service for you to learn what other people have done to grow and scale their business. Love these stories. Love these women. Thank you so much for being here with me today. We'll see you on the next one.